Hello students, in today's lecture we'll discuss three literary terms, okay, and these are plot, character and characterization. So we begin our discussion with plot. So plot, what is plot? First question. The simple definition of plot is the organization and arrangement of events in a literary work. A plot is a logical sequencing of events, happenings, or incidents in a story. So, what is plot? Plot means, in order to understand plot, first we need to understand story. Okay, what is story? Story is, we can say, a chronological order or chronological sequencing of various events and incidents. Okay, means first a particular incident takes place, then the next one, and then the next one. Means in this way, one episode follows the next, one incident follows the next. Okay, so this is the sequence of various events and incidents which makes a story. Okay, but what is the way to tell a story? Okay, we find that in various literary genres like fiction, uh, plays, in movies as well, there is a particular way of telling the story. Okay, and this particular way of telling the story is plot. How? Means the writer organizes these very incidents which are there in a particular story or in a script in a particular order to get certain desired artistic effect. Okay, so means plot we find that events and incidents are organized or sequenced according to certain logical way. Okay, not only the chronological which we find there in the stories, but it's logical way of or a logical sequencing of incidents. Okay, then we can see here a simple plot leaves little scope for the element of suspense, and there comes no reversal of fortune in the life of the central character. On the contrary, a complex plot is one which in which the principle of probability is strictly followed, and a catastrophe comes through a reversal in the fortune of the protagonist. Means Aristotle in his famous Poetics defines plot as the soul of a drama or soul of a tragedy. Means Aristotle puts a particular emphasis on the construction of plot in a piece of work. Okay, in his case, particularly the tragedy. So, plot is very important in any literary work. Okay, and there are five elements of plot, and these five elements are first one, the exposition, where we are introduced with the central character or the protagonist and the central conflict or the major question which the protagonist faces. Okay, and then the rising plot, the rising action, then climax, then falling action, and which moves towards the conclusion, and that is resolution or denouement. Okay, so please do understand the distinction or the difference between a story and a plot. The next term we have to discuss is character. Character. E.M. Foster, in his 1927 book Aspects of the Novel, discusses in detail about the character. Okay, he introduced chapters named as people. Okay, so In any work of fiction, okay, we find human agents participating or taking part or acting in a particular action, okay, or a narrative or the story. So these uh, persons, the people who participate, who interact in a piece of work, these are characters. Okay, so what we find, a dramatis personae depicted in works of literature or cinema is called character. Okay, E. Foster defines uh, two types of characters. Okay, one is the flat character, and the other one is round character. Okay, so flat characters, as the name suggests, are just, we can say, can be defined. They are very, we can say, flat or straightforward. Not straightforward. They can be, we can say, constructed, keeping in a single characteristic, a single quality, or a single idea. Okay, so throughout the plot, throughout the story, a flat character doesn't change. Okay, he or she remains the same. Okay, the writer does not need to reintroduce the flat character, because it doesn't get changed, okay, throughout the story. On the other hand, a round character, which we find mostly the major characters, or the central characters in a piece of work, which undergo certain changes in their behavior, in their attitudes, in their activities. Okay, so round character means character which develop, okay, with the passage of time in a story. In the novel we have discussed, in Kanthapura, we have found different characters. Okay, characters like Muti, Ratna, Rangamma, Periya, Rachanna. These are round characters because the writer paid full attention on them, on creating and constructing them, delineating them, and they change themselves throughout the novel. Okay. On the other hand, there are characters like Bhatt, Waterfall Venkama, and Advocate Shankar. Okay, they're very simple characters. They are flat characters. They remain the same throughout the novel. The next term we have to discuss is characterization. So characterization, what is characterization? Means the process of creating or portraying characters. Okay, so the way a writer portrays characters in a piece of work. Okay, so we can say uh, how a writer creates a character. Okay, so in a piece of work, character is presented before the audience or before the readers through two ways. Okay, and these two ways are either by telling or showing. By telling means there we find a description of the of the character. Okay, so the narrator or the writer himself or herself describes the character. Okay, or telling, and this is telling. The other technique is showing. Showing means, especially we can find in plays or in dramas, that we get about the character through the dialogues, through the we can say the action or the interaction of different characters. So these are the ways of portraying or developing a character in any piece of literature. Okay, here it's written that characterization is a process of creating a character in a literary work. A writer's art of characterization is just by the techniques of telling and showing. Okay, for characterization to be we can say lifelike, or to be realistic, writer has to be very, we can say, consistent about the age, okay, about the time, about the place, okay, and the culture. So means character should be true to life and should be convincing. So this is character and characterization. Okay, friends. Okay, students. Thanks.